Welcome to this explainer. So, you want to know how to learn all these essential French words, and you need it broken down clearly in English. Well, you are exactly in the right place. Today, we're going to do something absolutely incredible. We are going to master exactly 100 essential French words in a single sitting. Now, I know what you're thinking. Staring at a massive vocabulary list is pretty much the fastest way to forget everything you just read, right? So instead of rote memorization, we're going to use a technique called the Memory Palace. We're going to construct a mental day in France, moving through distinct physical spaces, and placing our vocabulary right there inside them so they lock into your brain forever. Seriously? Get ready because you are about to learn a lot of French very quickly. To keep things totally manageable and prevent cognitive overload, here is our roadmap for the day. First, home and school essentials. Second, mastering French food. Third, nature and movement. And we'll wrap it up with expressing your feelings. Let's just jump right in. All right, part 1, home and school essentials. Okay, let's dive into this. Close your eyes for a quick second and imagine you're just waking up to start your day in this beautiful, sunlit French home. This right here is where our memory palace begins. You open your eyes, you're lying in your lit. That's your bed. You stretch, you look around your chambre, your room. It's quiet, but you know the rest of the maison, the house, is just waiting for you. You throw off the covers and head straight to the salle de bain, the bathroom, to freshen up, before making your way down the hall to the cuisine, the kitchen. And you know, that's where the day truly starts. Inside that cuisine, let's furnish our mental space a bit. You take a seat on a chaise, a chair, pulled right up to the table, which thankfully means table. Look around. You're surrounded by 4 walls. In French, a wall is a mur. You glance out the fenêtre, the window, to check the weather, before finally turning the handle on the porte, the door, and stepping outside. So you walk out that portico and head straight to the école, the school. You navigate the busy hallways and walk into your specific class, your classroom. You find your assigned bureau, your desk, and you just heavily drop your sac, your bag, onto the floor. You unzip that sack because, yep, it's time to turn in yesterday's devoir, your homework. Now, what's really interesting here is how these everyday study tools all build toward the ultimate student challenge. From your sack, you pull out a livre, a book, and a cahier, a notebook. You grab your stylo, a pen, or actually, maybe a crayon, a pencil, in case you make a mistake. Why? Because you absolutely need to be perfectly prepared for the dreaded exam, the exam. Okay, part 2. Mastering French food. You survive the examen, the bell rings, and it's time for arguably the most important part of any day in France. We're talking about the glorious concepts of nourriture, which means food, and the repas, which means meal. First up, let's understand the daily eating rhythm. Your morning meal is the petit déjeuner, which literally translates to the little lunch. Midday brings the actual déjeuner, lunch, and the evening concludes with a hearty dîner, dinner. And hey, here's a massive pro tip for your memory palace. The literal second you sit down at a French restaurant for any repas, immediately ask your waiter for water, and a basket of pain, bread. It's an absolute must. Let's look at a typical menu. You've got to know your proteins and carbs. Viande is your general word for meat. From there, you might order poulet for chicken, bœuf for beef, or porc for pork. Not a meat fan? If you prefer seafood, order the poisson, fish, or maybe just an œuf, an egg. And to go with it, you'll definitely want a hearty side of riz, or some delicious pâte, pasta. Now, a French kitchen just isn't complete without dairy and seasonings, right? You absolutely must know fromage, cheese, and beurre, butter. You might pour lait, milk, into your coffee. When your food arrives, make sure to season it perfectly with sel, salt, and poivre, pepper. And back in the kitchen, you just know the chef is definitely cooking with huile, oil, or perhaps baking with a bit of sugar, sucre. But look, sometimes you just don't have time for a big, fancy sit-down déjeuner. If you're in a rush, ordering is a total breeze because some of these words are practically identical in English. You can easily grab a quick soup, or a salade, salad. Better yet, just order a sandwich, a pizza, or a hamburger. No way you forget those, right? They sound exactly like what you'd expect, just delivered with that lovely French accent. If you prefer something a bit fresher, let's take a quick mental stroll to the market for some sweet produce simply called fruit. Picture these vibrant colors in your memory palace. A bright red pomme, an apple, a yellow banana, a banana, and an orange, which is, well, an orange. You might also grab a sweet fraise, a strawberry, a cluster of raisin, grapes, or maybe a super tart citron, a lemon.
Moving over to the savory side, we have legume vegetable. You're going to recognize carotte and tomate easily, alongside onion, and ail, garlic. And this brilliantly illustrates how incredibly fun the French language could be. Look at the word for potato. In French, it's a pomme de terre. If you remember from our fruit market a second ago, pomme is apple. So a potato is quite literally an apple of the earth. I love that.
All right, let's finish off this massive meal with the boisson, a drink and some sweets. For drinks, you could have jus, juice, a soda, a café, coffee, or some tea. And finally, the moment we've been waiting for, dessert. What are you going to choose? Chocolat, chocolate, a rich slice of gâteau, cake, a crunchy biscuit, cookie, or maybe a cold scoop of glace, ice cream. Part 3, nature and movement. Honestly, we are thoroughly stuffed from that incredible meal, so it is time to get moving. Let's get up from the table, step outside that charming French cafe, and explore the outdoors to digest. Picture yourself standing right outside the cafe doors. Look around you. How do you actually navigate the world outside? What elements of nature surround you right now? And more importantly, how do you physically propel yourself through this landscape? Paint a vivid picture of the French countryside in your mind right now. At your feet, you see green herb, grass, dotted with a beautiful fleur, a flower. Towering high above you is an arbre, a tree. In the distance, the landscape gets really dramatic. You might see a sweeping montagne, mountain, a rushing rivière, river, or even the vast blue mer, the sea. Now, tilt your head back and look up into the ciel, the sky. If you're doing this during the day, you'll feel the warmth of the soleil, the sun. But if your memory palace happens to be set at night, the sky will be illuminated by the glowing lune, the moon, and a bright twinkling étoile, a star. So how do we actually move through all this beautiful nature? Well, most of the time, we're just gonna marcher, to walk. If we're in a hurry, we can courir, to run, or perhaps sauter, to jump. If you reach that rivière we mentioned earlier, you'll need to nager, to swim. A bird overhead can voler, to fly. Just be careful on your walk so you don't accidentally tomber, to fall. Let's see how pairing contrasting verbs can seriously build up your vocabulary speed. Our brains literally love opposites. You can entrer, to enter a building, or you can sortir, to leave it. When someone asks what your plans are, you might choose to rester, to stay put, or you might need to attendre, to wait for a friend. Connecting verbs like this creates natural cognitive hooks, making them way easier to remember. Part 4, expressing your feelings. As the sun sets, or the soleil goes down on our virtual day in France, it's time to check in with ourselves. We've woken up, gone to school, eaten a massive meal, explored the mountains. So how do we describe our current state of mind? So the absolutely crucial point here is that just like with our action verbs, grouping adjectives into clear opposites helps lock them permanently into your long-term memory. Think about it. Are you feeling heureux, happy about the day, or triste, sad that it's ending? Did you meet someone gentil, kind, or someone who is méchant, mean? Let's wrap up our massive 100-word list with these final states of mind. After all that running and swimming, you are likely fatigué, tired, but hopefully you're feeling content, pleased with your progress. Is absorbing this much vocabulary making you en colère, angry, or are you feeling perfectly calm? Whether you find language learning droll, funny, or you are deeply sérieux, serious about it, you have just covered tremendous ground today. Would you look at that? You just walked through a complete mental day and encountered exactly 100 essential French words without even breaking a sweat. It really works, doesn't it? So I have to ask you, are you leaving this explainer feeling heureux, happy, or maybe just a little fatigué, tired? The single best way to make sure these words stick in your memory palace is to step out your port, your door, and start using them in the real world immediately. Keep practicing, and I'll see you next time.